Taoiseach, I'm raising the issue of the local authority water service workers again. I've raised it a number of times, and I want to raise it because there's only 3 weeks to the Dáil recess and the changing of the guard from the point of view of Taoiseach, and 5 weeks to the commencement date of the WRC framework plan that affects up to 3,500 workers. To date, Unite the Union water service workers have rejected the plan by 82%, and 96% of water service workers in Connect trade union have balloted to take industrial action if the date and wording for a referendum to enshrine the public ownership and management of water and sanitation service in the Constitution is not initiated. And they also want their full term and conditions if they stay in the local authorities, and they want to keep those conditions. And they want honoured their rostered overtime and allowances which impact on their future pension, and they want that red circled. And they want public service status protected. The water service workers in SIFTU and Forza have not been balloted, and I hope you would agree, Taoiseach, that this is a democratic deficit for those workers. These workers were promised that a referendum will be passed before there be any transfer of workers to Irish Water, and at that time such a transfer would take place in 2026. The WRC framework agreement, there is no mention of a referendum, and the date has been brought forward by 3 years to the 1st of January 2023. Minister O'Brien has stated in a letter to me that he would bring forward definitive proposals on a referendum on water ownership for consideration early in the new year. Taoiseach, it's not good enough, it's too vague, and it's still kicking the can down the road. We've had too many delays. Sure, in November 2018, the then Minister Owen Murphy announced he was to seek approval for such a referendum. That was in 2018, 2 years after the bill I introduced in 2016, and we're still waiting for that proposal to go to Cabinet. We're still waiting 6 years on. The bill was unopposed, and the framework plan brought forward by 3 years. From 2026 to 2023, that framework plan has been brought forward. There's a bill sitting in committee for third stage, and that is the bill I propose on behalf of the Huge Right to Water campaign. You know that bill. So I'm going to finish by saying, Taoiseach, your party claims to support a referendum, so prove it and ensure that water and sanitation doesn't remain in public ownership in name only, with the majority of services outsourced to private companies on long-term contracts. I've seen many ministers are clamouring to bring legislation to Cabinet before the D-Day of December the 17th. Will you, Taoiseach, instruct your minister to bring a wording for a referendum and the date for such a referendum to your Cabinet before December the 17th?
First of all, I thank the Deputy for raising this very important issue, and to say at the outset that transfers to Irish Water by water services workers under the framework for the future delivery of water services, which was identified, as you know, at the Workplace Relations Commission on the 24th of June of this year. So transfers are voluntary under that framework, and every worker will have the option of staying with their local authority, and transfers will happen over a 4-year period from 2023 to 2026 inclusive. And the Department of Housing also hosted parallel engagement with the unions on a number of policy matters of relevance to staff in the context of the water transformation programme, including a referendum on water ownership. A paper entitled Irish Water Transformation, the Wider Policy Context, and was shared with the unions in July of this year to reflect the engagement outcomes. And this paper set out the planned approach to bring forward a referendum proposal on water ownership for consideration by government in conjunction with the anticipated recommendation of a proposed referendum on housing from the Commission of Housing. And in that way then it's intended that definitive proposals, including timelines for referenda on water and housing in line with the commitments given to the programme for government, will be considered by the government in the near future. And I would hope that we'd have recommendations hopefully by the end of the year, so that the Minister would be in a position to act on this early in the new year. So in that context, I think the process that has been entered into is a positive process, and the policy paper reflected all of that in terms of the Irish Water separating from the RVA group during 2023, The Water Services Amendment number 2 bill is due to conclude in the Oireachtas on Thursday. Shannon report in final stages provides for this separation. And Irish Water then integrating the day-to-day operation and delivery of water services into its own organisational structures in place of the current service level agreements. I think that in many ways that will make for a better administration and delivery in terms of water services themselves. So the referendum has been committed to. The Commission on Housing is working on those issues. And I think during the debates in the House and so on, we acknowledge that the issue of a constitutional referendum emerges as a key concern, and the government intends to act on that in terms of future legislation. And Minister O'Brien has signalled his willingness to support that referendum on ownership of water, and to bring it hold it in conjunction with a referendum on housing once the recommendation from the Housing Commission comes forward, hopefully towards the end of the year.
Joan. Taoiseach, it's been 6 years we're waiting for a referendum and the wording to come forward. It's been 6 months since that policy document was issued, and we're still waiting for wording and a date. It's an absolute disgrace, Taoiseach. Now, this is correspondence I got from water service workers. They say they want a referendum now. They want the wording must be the ownership of water and water services to remain in public ownership. Terms and conditions of local authority water workers do not include allowances and regular and rostered overtime. Allowances and regular rostered overtime and on-call allowance must be red circled in water framework document. The above allowances are pensionable, so they can stay in the local authority, but they may not be in the same position. They could be in parks, they could be in maintenance, and they're not carrying their rostered overtime and their pensionable allowances. So they want that red circle, they want that dealt with in the framework plan, and they want a referendum now. And just a point that was said to me from one of the workers, he said to say to Minister O'Brien, make no mistake, if you try and force the framework plan on us, you'll be met with massive nationwide industrial action. Now we need a referendum on the public ownership and management, and that's their message to government.
Well, the Minister is committed to this, and there's a recommendation to come from the Housing Commission. But the key point is, there is no doubt but that water will remain in public ownership in this country. I know of no political party in this Dáil or this Oireachtas who wants to privatise water. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody. No one has articulated this in a long, long time. So I think we need to stop the scaremongering as well. But not that said, we're committed to a referendum. But let's stop the scaremongering as well. The public out there want a very smooth and they want an efficient delivery of water services. We need to expand wastewater treatment plants. That's the focus of the government, is to get more capital allocated, but not just allocated, to get delivery, to get more housing estates connected to water more quickly, and to get the extra housing that's been built every year connected more regularly. Those are the issues, the bread and butter issues that the people are concerned about in terms of water. And this has all taken place within the WRC. A workplace framework agreement was agreed with the unions through the Workplace Commission and so forth. So there's been a lot of consultation. There has been a lot of engagement in this. And as I said originally, it's voluntary.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Moving on to the fourth question.